The signal began as a whisper, a trembling pulse of light lost among the stars, its rhythm fragile, desperate, like a heartbeat fading in the cold. It crossed nebulae and dust fields, gliding on nothing but faith. The people of Velantris Prime sent it as their world burned. They had been a graceful species, silver-skinned, long-eyed, born beneath twin moons that turned their oceans to glass in the night. Their cities had once floated above clouds, their art had sung through light, and their hearts had believed the galaxy was kind. Then came the Dreadnought Empire, world-eaters, lavers, a race of towering scaled conquerors who crushed resistance beneath claws of iron. When they found Velantris, they did not speak of peace. They only demanded surrender. The Velantrians tried to flee, tried to plead, tried to reason, and when that failed, they sent their last message into the void. Help us! Our world is dying. Anyone who hears this, please. They did not know if anyone would ever hear it. They just wanted the universe to remember them. The signal. 300 light-years away, the message reached Earth. The receiving dish at the Deep Space Listening Array 14, perched high in the Andes, caught the faint pattern at 2:37 a.m. Technician Leanne Ortega was on the night shift. She was half asleep, her coffee gone cold, when the monitor blinked red. Another pulsar echo, she muttered, until she saw the rhythm. 3 beats. Buzz. 2 beats. Buzz. Repeated with mechanical precision. Her fingers flew across the console. When the decryption software translated the data into audio, the voice that emerged wasn't human. It was trembling, melodic, filled with a sorrow that bypassed language. By dawn, the signal had spread through every scientific network on the planet. By noon, the United Earth Council was meeting in emergency session. It wasn't the first alien transmission humanity had ever received, but it was the first that carried fear. The decision. Most of the galactic concord, the vast coalition of alien nations humanity had cautiously joined, dismissed the signal. The Velantrians, they said, were insignificant. A minor species. The Dreadnought Empire was too powerful to oppose. But humans had never been good at staying quiet while someone screamed. General Marcus Renfield, commander of the Terran Expeditionary Forces, slammed his hand on the council table. "We built our fleets to keep the peace," he said, his voice sharp. "Peace means nothing if we let an entire species burn." Some argued against him. Earth was young to the stars. Its fleets were small. The Dreadnought were ancient. Renfield looked at the hologram of Velantris, its continents on fire, and said simply, "Then we'll remind the galaxy what it means to be human." The chamber fell silent. Within a week, Operation Dawnfire was born. Departure. The Terran Expeditionary Fleet was a sight unlike anything the galaxy had seen. 5 dreadnoughts, 14 cruisers, 300 escort ships, all bristling with kinetic rails and fusion cannons. They painted the hulls matte black to vanish against the stars. And on every ship's flank, in stark white letters, was the same phrase. "We answered." Captain Rhea Calder of the Dreadnought Tess Dauntless addressed her crew before departure. "Many of you joined this navy to explore," she said, her voice echoing through the decks. "Tonight we go to war instead. We don't fight for land or wealth or glory. We fight because someone asked for help, and no one else would come." The hangar erupted in applause. As the fleet prepared to jump, the night side of Earth shimmered below them, its cities glittering like constellations. Families gathered on rooftops to watch streaks of fire ascend into orbit. The Terran fleet vanished into faster-than-light silence, leaving behind a world that dared to hope. Arrival at Velantris. 2 weeks later, they dropped from warp at the edge of the Velantris system. The sight that greeted them froze every human heart. The planet glowed faintly red, its atmosphere choked with smoke. In orbit, massive Diarekal warships encircled it like vultures, their hulls black and glistening with plasma heat. Captain Calder's voice was steady over comms. "This is Captain Rhea Calder of the United Terran Navy," she said. "Cease all hostilities and withdraw. This world is under Earth's protection." A moment of silence. Then the reply came low, mocking. "Another prey species dares speak. We will enjoy devouring your bones." Calder's gaze hardened. "Helm," she said quietly. "Bring us in. Weapons hot." And then, with perfect calm, "Show them what Deathworlders do." First strike. The Dauntless surged forward, its rail cannons spitting tungsten slugs at near-light velocity. Each impact tore through Diarekal armor, venting atmosphere and fire. Human fighters, small, fast, suicidal, dived through plasma barrages, striking engines and sensor arrays. Cruisers flanked from both sides, unleashing fusion lances that burned through enemy hulls like sunfire. The Diarekal had never fought opponents who didn't fear death. When their boarding pods hit the Dauntless, human marines met them in brutal close combat. The Diarekal were taller, stronger, but the humans were relentless. They moved with the fury of a species forged in jungles and storms, their roars echoing through the ship's corridors. By the end of the first hour, 6 enemy ships had fallen. By dawn, half the Diarekal fleet was wreckage. Velantris's skies cleared for the first time in months. The survivors. When the smoke faded, Calder led a ground team down to the planet's surface. The capital lay in ruins. Buildings shattered, rivers of molten glass cutting through once green fields. They found survivors in underground shelters, gaunt, pale, eyes wide with disbelief. A Velantrian elder stepped forward, his hands trembling. You came." Calder removed her helmet. Her skin was scarred, her eyes calm. "You called," she said. "We answered." The old one wept openly. As human medics moved among the survivors, distributing food and filters, the Velantrians watched them work. These strange creatures from the death world, who smiled while standing amid destruction, who spoke gently even as they carried weapons of apocalypse. They had never seen anything like it. They had never believed compassion could look so terrifying. The message spreads. The liberation of Velantris sent shockwaves across the galaxy. For centuries, the Diarekal Empire had ruled through fear. Now, a young race from a death world had shattered that illusion in a single day. Alien networks replayed the footage. Humans pulling wounded civilians from rubble, the Dauntless drifting victorious through flaming wreckage, and Captain Calder's final broadcast. "To all who can hear me, you are not alone. When you call for help, humanity will answer." In distant star systems, enslaved worlds began whispering the same phrase. "The Deathworlders have come." The news of Velantris's liberation echoed across the stars like thunder. The once silent species of the galaxy began to stir, whispering words no one had dared to speak in 1,000 years. "The Diarekal can bleed." For the first time, the Empire felt fear. The humans had shown them something the galaxy had forgotten: resistance. But fear in monsters breeds fury. Within weeks, the Diarekal mobilized 10 full fleets, an armada vast enough to eclipse the stars, and set course for Velantris Prime. Their emperor vowed to burn the world so completely that its ashes would never know light again. The gathering storm. Captain Rhea Calder stood on the bridge of the test Dauntless, watching as the Allied ships assembled in orbit. What had begun as a human rescue mission had become something greater. The Velantrians, once broken, now stood beside their saviors. The insectoid Kreth, the crystalline Dromi, and the slender Helanthi sent ships to join the Terran line. Together they formed a fleet that spanned from horizon to horizon, an army of the free. "This isn't just about Velantris anymore," Calder said, her voice low but steady. "It's about every world that ever begged for help and was ignored. We're drawing a line here. And we don't back down." Her crew nodded. No one spoke of survival. Only victory. Operation Dawnfire had become the stand at Velantris. The battle begins. The Diarakal came with the dawn. 10 fleets of black steel and burning light emerged from warp, blotting out the sun. The ground trembled as planetary shields flared to life. In orbit, the Allied fleet spread its wings, like 1,000 suns igniting at once. "Multiple contacts, massive formation," cried the tactical officer. Calder smiled grimly. "Then we won't have to aim far." The Dauntless opened fire first. A rail slug 6 meters long screamed through space and tore a Diarakal cruiser in half. Then the void erupted into chaos. Human fighters darted between dreadnoughts, weaving through plasma storms. Velantrian interceptors, rebuilt with Terran tech, fired shimmering lances that burned holes through enemy hulls. Kreth ships, shaped like enormous mantises, dove into the fray with sonic cannons that shattered armor at molecular level. For 6 straight hours the stars bled fire. Sacrifice. The Diarakal were relentless. Their capital ships unleashed planet crackers, weapons powerful enough to tear worlds apart. Calder's second-in-command, Commander Hurst, turned pale as the sensors screamed. "They're targeting the surface. Velantris is in range." Calder's jaw tightened. "Then we stop them." The Dauntless surged forward, its engines screaming as it cut through the formation. All guns focused on the incoming weapon, a monstrous spear of energy gathering at the Diarakal flagship's core. "Captain, we can't get through their shields," shouted Hurst. Calder stared at the readings. Her voice dropped to a whisper. "We don't have to get through. We just have to get close." The crew understood instantly. No one objected. Not one. The Dauntless charged headlong into the beam. Its armor vaporized, its hull split, but in those final seconds, the ship's rail batteries fired one last shot. A tungsten slug that pierced the weapon's heart. The planet cracker detonated, consuming half the Diarakal armada in a chain reaction that lit the system brighter than its sun. When the light faded, the Dauntless was gone. Rhea Calder was gone. But Velantris lived. The reckoning. The death of the Diarakal fleets shattered the Empire's illusion of power. Revolts ignited on their conquered worlds. Slave species rose, armed with stolen weapons and burning hope. The Terran fleets, though battered, pushed forward, liberating system after system. The campaign became known as the Reckoning, and it ended not in conquest, but in justice. When the Terran Marines stormed the Diarakal throne world, they found their emperor waiting amid ruins. He looked upon the humans, these fragile, soft-skinned beings from a savage world, and whispered, "You are not warriors. You are extinction." General Renfield looked down at him, eyes cold as steel. "No," he said. "We're what comes after extinction, when the survivors decide to fight back." And with that, the era of the Diarakal ended. Aftermath. Years passed. The galaxy changed. The Velantrians rebuilt their world with human engineers and Dromi architects. Their cities gleamed once more, shining towers of crystal and steel, symbols of unity instead of fear. In the heart of the new capital stood a monument, a human hand reaching toward the sky, a Velantrian hand clasped within it. Beneath the sculpture, words were carved in 3 languages. Their SOS reached Earth. And the Deathworlders answered. No empire ever rose again to threaten the stars in the same way. Because every species remembered the day the Deathworlders came, not as conquerors but as protectors. And whenever another distress signal echoed across the dark, it carried a promise older than war itself. If you call for help, humanity will hear you. Epilogue. A century later, a young Velantrian cadet stood aboard the Terran Velantrian Academy orbiting Earth. She gazed down at the blue planet, the place where it all began. Beside her stood an aging admiral, a human with tired eyes but a gentle smile. "Is it true," she asked softly, "that Captain Calder knew she wouldn't return?" The admiral nodded. She knew. But she also knew that courage means standing between danger and those who can't. The cadet looked back toward the stars. "So that's what it means to be a Deathworlder." The admiral chuckled. "No," he said. "That's what it means to be human." The cadet smiled, tears bright in her silver eyes. And as Earth's sunrise illuminated the Academy's hull, its reflection shimmered across her face. Warm, fierce, alive. The legacy of the Dauntless lived on in every light that pierced the void. In every ship that bore the mark of the Deathworlders. In every promise that the stars were no longer silent. Because once, long ago, a dying world cried out for help. And the monsters from the Deathworld answered.